Hello, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Well, what a day! 24 hours it has been with the roller coaster of obviously Cooper's leaving and all that. With Nino potentially look like he is coming in. We've got Phil and Luke in the on the video today. So, hello, guys.
Hi, Dan.
Greetings.
I mean, I start with you, Phil. I mean, what an eventful 24 hours it's been being a Forest fan.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think he's probably the only manager what we've had who's gone, who's absolutely really a lot of Forest fans are feeling it that he's gone, because I just want to shout out a massive thank you for how he embraced our club, how he came in when, you know, we were so far behind. And in the championship, I was going to be happy that if we finished fourth from bottom. So first of all, I just want to thank Steve Cooper for coming on board, embracing our club, and getting us back to the promised land as well. Very sad that he's gone, but I can fully understand the reasons why.
Mm. I mean, Luke, I know how passionate you are and how explosive you can be. What's your take on it?
I just find it totally sad because at the end of the day, he combined the fan base with the players and the manager together, and I just think he's been hung out to dry. Like he's a scapegoat for poor recruitment and poor boardroom decisions. Like we thought that our solution to the problem would be bringing in Lee Charnley as a consultant. Well, all that seemed to have done is bring in Chris Wood and John Joe Shelby, who neither have looked particularly that good. That's probably the reason why Newcastle were going to get rid of them in the first place. Then you're operating with players like Jesse Lingard last season and Divock Origi this season. It just seems to me that there's not a lot of sense going on at the club. And I felt something was off from the minute we entered this season. And it just seems to me that we're entirely satisfied with making an absolute joke of ourselves. Like, we fired Steve Cooper at 4:30, and we are still now waiting for the announcement of who's going to take the Bournemouth game, if there's going to be a new head coach, or if there's going to be somebody they've already fired, they're having to then convince to come back in because the negotiations have gone wrong. Like, come on. Like, where's the speed and the intensity and the professionalism to go, you know what? Okay, it's not working, but we'll give it some more time, see what we can do in the January window. We're 3 games away from January and we've changed our manager. That's put a hell of a lot of pressure on the new guy that comes in to get January right. Because if he fails.
But Luke, like we're head of recruitment and stuff like that. Don't the manager? Yes, he will have a say about certain stuff, but it's normally out of their hands, isn't it? As such.
Yeah, but the problem
isn't that a collective, division kind of thing.
Well, that's half of the problem, though, isn't it? There is no clear person that's running the recruitment. Like, you've got, and I'll put it bluntly for us all. You had 4 strategies. You had the German mold under Siriannis, which is working. You've got the Cooper signings, which again, for a large part, were working. Then you've got the Marinakis Juniors. Oh my God, I'm playing Football Manager, FIFA, and fancy football put together,
and
bringing in all of these ridiculous ones like Jesse Lingard and Divock Origi. Oh, look at me, I'm spending the money. And then you've got the 2 that Lee Charnley brought over, which again, one's over in Turkey and one's basically walking around like he doesn't really give a monkeys. So nobody was in control of it. And really, if you've got a recruitment team, then the recruitment team should be the ones that are looking for players that are similar to the players that we have. So that if we lose, say, Taiwo up front, we have somebody of the same physicality and build to come in and replace them. We don't have that. We've got Divock Origi that's had like one disastrous game. That's it. You're done. And Chris Wood has been totally overworked. There is no actual mode for recruitment.
Fair points.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Hard to argue against them, Dan, aren't they?
yeah, definitely. I mean, get your comments coming in if and what you think, guys, about what we are saying. Mario saying hello from me today. So
Hi.
hello.
Greetings.
If you saying please do not keep on the pitch, tell recruitment also. I mean, jumping onto that point, I mean, do you think that the players did throw people under the bus within the last couple of weeks or last 2 months since the Villa game?
Well, it's hard to say because as a professional, you should be playing because about the money. But I think with it, you could see there was some unrest by Orsterdam, Worrell, McKenna, even though they weren't playing in the first team. But there's been some unrest with some players. Some players have been playing and not been playing up to speed. Is that because they're tired, or is it? I don't know. Like coming back from injuries, like Danilo hasn't really looked half the player he was last year. It looks like I don't know. It looks like I don't know the motivation and some of the players are not there. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to, and I think as well. I think because realistically we've not really had a real good settled side as such. You know, from every home game, you can't really put your hand on the heart and say, well, this what I presume the first 11 will be. You know, compared to more like last season with injuries, this year it's like seems to be not quite sure. So I think that don't help because if you're swapping and changing all the time, yes, we've had, you know, and also you can't just rely on one key player getting injured in Taiwo, which it proved the point massively that when Taiwo's not in the team, we don't look a team. You know what I mean? It's so one-sided when he's not here there. And I think some of the players, I think, probably presume that he might be going or looking at thinking, well, maybe, you know, I'll move on in January, don't want to get injured, thinking that you don't know what's behind the scenes, that they may want to leave as well. But I don't think there seemed to be that collective team this season compared to last season. And one thing what you can't say is you can't say that it's because we had a really big influx of players because we had a really big influx of players last season. So that argument don't really wash with me because, you know, it's the same kind of thing. And if the recruitment team was doing the right thing, they'd have a look at not only the playing skill, style, what they're like off the pitch, and everything else what goes around on the football, you know, as a player, to see if that player would fit into the team. You know, and that's a problem. That is a problem. I don't think they are as collective unit as we was. And maybe is that expectation that we thought we'd be a lot better off. You know, there've been times in this season already where, you know, if things went well, we would have been well higher up, like Man U away, Arsenal. You know what I mean? You can have a look at certain games where we could have had something more out of it, and maybe it would have been a different thing. You know, maybe the pressure's got to some of the players as well.
Yeah, definitely. What are your thoughts on that, Luke?
The players need to take a bit more responsibility for their own performances. I mean, I come out to the amount of errors that have been made this season, even from lapses in concentration after we scored against West Ham, which the players evidently thought that the game was done at like 60, 70 minutes because we were celebrating like we'd won the game in the 96th minute. when actually there was a long time to go. During that same game, we had the hospital ball from Dominguez straight across the field, which really should have been dinked over to Gibbs White.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Sangare against Fulham. I'm not quite sure exactly what he was doing in that game, or any game, to be quite honest, because I question that whole signing. We sold Brennan Johnson for 40 million, or whatever the total was, and we used that money to sign Sangare. And to be quite honest, I'm like, why? What does he do that none of our other midfielders can already do? The problem I have is we've signed so many players that I just can't work out how they fit into what we left last season with. Like,
Well, do you think it's because he wanted a different style of play, more possession kind of style of play, rather than on the counter attack,
but
and secure with Sangare, more secure on that? You know, maybe he's been playing in the wrong position. Maybe it'd be better playing a bit more forward.
but the trouble is, though, Phil, is you'd have thought that these people that were looking at Sangare would have spoken to Cooper and said, look, this is the player that we've got. This is how he plays. Can you use him in that way? And it just seems to me that we have signed players and they've come over, and then Cooper's seen them in a game and gone, whoa, well, that's not what I was told was going to happen, or that's not what I was told they could do. And why is it that these professional footballers, I'll come to my next error with Matt Turner throwing the ball out aimlessly into space? I mean, are we struggling to find decent goalkeepers now? Because we let Samba go back to France and got in Dean Henderson on loan. Decent enough. Then he gets injured, so we bring in Navas again. Decent enough. And then we seem to have lost our brain cells. Because then we went Matt Turner and this Greek guy, Vlachodimos. They're not on the same level. They really are not on the same level.
I think on that way with Dean Henderson, I think he would have joined till he got injured. And I think we was worried going into the season with Wayne Hennessy in goal. And I think Turner was probably goalkeeper plan C, D, E or whatever. And I think that was another thing. If you have a look at that time, and Manu always messes around anyway. They were messing around with Henderson even last season.
But
but you couldn't have, with Dean Henderson, yes, he played the other day, but that's like he's only played 2 games at least for Palace. So
I don't think the problem is as much the fact we didn't sign Dean Henderson. My point is we're recruiting goalkeepers that had very high pedigree. Like Dean Henderson was playing particularly well for Sheffield United. That season he was on loan. Then he came to us and started brilliantly there as well. You've got Navas, who's very renowned for being a very good goalkeeper. Matt Turner's only really been the number 3 for Arsenal. Number 2, number 3. He's not really been starting for Arsenal. I think he had a couple of loans in League 2. But apart from that, not really too much going on for him. Vlachodimos was Benfica. I just find that we didn't do enough research into where these goalkeepers have been at to match the level that we were trying to aim for.
Yeah.
I think reference back goalkeepers, I think we was all set on signing Henderson. I think we got to a point where he, I think we was to a time where we're thinking, getting close to the season, thinking if we don't get anybody in, we're going to have what we've got. In pre-season, we had Shelby in goal quite a lot of the times, didn't we? Because it was, not John Joe Shelby, what some voice fan thought it was, that not Scanty like, but we had Shelby in, the young academy player. So I think we got to a point where it gets to a time where you need to get somebody in, and I think that was really the only options what we had, who we could get that goalkeeper in, because I was concerned at the beginning of the season that if we had to have Wayne Hennessy in goals, we would get battered every week. And I think that was probably a lot of the driving force why we got the goalkeepers. I won't be surprised if, and within the club, it's a lot of pressure to put on young Shelby to be starting at number one, maybe, especially when we was all hoping to move up and have another step forward. And I think that was the biggest problem, Luke, is that I think if Henderson was fit, he would have been brought, and then maybe we might have had a Turner, or maybe we might not even bothered. We just carried on what we had as well. But I think that's one of the biggest panic. I think more of a panic to that point, because we didn't have anybody during the pre-season. It was like, it was shocking, and obviously some of the and I think you can tell that by the signings.
There appears to be a bit of a naivety then, because if you think that you could just nail your hands down and go, oh, okay, yep, we're putting all of our eggs into Henderson's basket. Oh, it's not working. Oh, right. Well, we'll just scatter guns to here and to here.
But I think realistically, when you have a look at goalkeepers who have moved, there are not many goalkeepers moved. And that's the problem. It's like, who else do you get? And I think that was the problem. If you're gonna get a goalkeeper, most clubs won't sell the number ones. It's going to be the number twos or number threes. Yeah, especially in the Premier League or whatever. And I think that didn't help us at all. Because I would have, first person I would probably sign from last season would have been Henderson. I know he got injured, and Keylor Neves, did well, but it's a difficult one, because I think we ran out of time, mate. I really, to get somebody in and get someone into the club and training and certain players. But you can tell that with the confidence, because centre defenders, if you're not confident with the person behind you panic. You're more under pressure, which is shown. You've either got to tell the goalkeeper, do not kick that ball out, play it out, kick it, or whatever you do, because, well, kicking it is not very good at anyway, but do you know what I mean, with Turner? But, he just, I don't know, his distribution is not very good. And like I say, I think with it, that's what you go get for a £10 million goalkeeper, aren't you? Unless, and who else is there? Say, for instance, now, right, we're coming up to January, who would you go? Because I can't see Arsenal, I can't see his 8-1 if could do. Good shout, Scott. Yeah. You're going to have to get, if we need a goalkeeper, which obviously we do, I think the Greek lad probably, that's not really worked out really well, as such. He looked okay first game. But it's weird that both of them seem to play a lot better for the internationals. But when it comes to the bread and butter where they're getting wages, they're not, they're not very, well, they've been very poor. And I think that lack of confidence and that presence and that, like what we had with the other two goalkeepers, puts that pressure onto the defenders who get the ball, panic. They don't just pass that ball back to the goalkeeper. Because why would you? Why would you? Because you think you got the ball, you could tell, like, oh dear, I've got to pass it back, and you're thinking, oh, here we go, Turner's going to pass it to opposition goal. So there's a lot of things in players' heads that, the first thing you've got to be confident with the goalkeeper, and obviously, and I'm not confident with either of them. They are a step up from Wayne Hennessy, but his age doesn't help. But even like some goalkeepers who had at the past have been better at distribution than what we have. But the key point so is in January we have got to get. For me, we've got to probably have to address certain stuff. The loan players, if he doesn't rate, need to go back because they're not making a really positive impact into the club. And one is we need another striker in the same mould as Tyro to come in the squad and give that same presence. So, like you were saying before, Luke, if you get that out, you get somebody who's very similar. It may not be as good as Tyro, but but maybe an option.
Yeah, we need to make sure that what signings we're bringing in are going to actually fit the way that we want to play. Now, Santo might have a different idea of how exactly we want to play it and bring players into the fold that haven't been working and make them work better. But I still don't see how any team can progress through the field and break down Premier League defences. And if we're going to play that way, with Chris Wood up front, he's not going to beat players going forward. And I totally agree that we need to get somebody in that's maybe don't need to be totally physical as Taiwo, but I think a quick player, definitely, a quick player you can slide the ball through to, because again, Gibbs White is looking totally ineffective because we've not got a player to slide the ball through to that can then finish.
But there's another thing on Morgan. I think he is not a winger, and I think he hasn't got the pace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another problem. He's trying to, and I think with Morgan being a young lad, he's trying. Sometimes players try too hard. Do you know what I mean? Try over try, and I think with it, I think that don't work. I think going back to Chris Wood is he's an impact substitute player, and I think that's what we got him for. And he has, and he has contributed with some goals, but not as a full team because when the pressure's on, he's got that physical presence. So for me, Chris Wood would be a player that would never start realistically, but come on for the last 20 minutes or with our time and for the last 25 minutes kind of thing. Because to me, and the problem when you play with Chris Wood is if you change your style, you tend to fall back in like, oh, he's a tall man, hoof it up to him and try and get. So you end up not playing the kind of style of football that you want to, And I think with this realistically, all along, like I say, Chris Wood was always going to be a substitute or squad player, but not a day in, a week in, week out striker. Well, that's the problem with the Premier League. You're right, but the problem with the Premier League, people saying it, But I tell you what, he's on off, he's on double amount as what our lovely friend who got an extension to his contract and joined us from lovely Bournemouth. Mentioning no names who are still dragging a lot of money out, who played at Ollerton Town a couple of years ago, where I actually played there, so I'm not mentioning his name because I refuse to, but he's still on 45, 50k a week. So when you have a look at you know who I'm talking about, and then Wood is like, say no more, and I think with it, yes, we made mistakes in the transfer windows as well, as a club. But I think with it, that's all to do with owner wanting us to stay up because you know that any team going up, it's hard because the levels are so, with the play style, the football, the wages are so high. And unfortunately, you've got different levels in the Premier League. You've got the top 6, 8. You've got the middle part where we're trying to get into, and then you've got fighting for survival every season. And and I think what fans, you would hope that we can get some progression, but football has changed from the days of Brian Clough, unfortunately. It's difficult, but we just got to get it right, and maybe the change was needed because you could see, like sometimes you could see on someone's face he looked under pressure. You could see it on Cooper's face, and I think that it's difficult. Like I say, it's difficult with everyone saying, "Oh, if you don't get a result in this game, you go in. Don't get a result in this one," and it's putting extra pressure on them. Extra pressure on the manager, extra pressure on the players. But I'm sure things will come out. It'd be like I say, it'd be really interesting if he does come in before the game on Saturday. What team and who's back into the squad and who isn't.
Dan has put, are there any under 23 strikers that could make the step up?
It's. I wouldn't do a bad thing with, we've got people like Lawson there. We've got what's his name? He's played in cup game for us. Oh, he's a beast of a striker, number 9.
You mean a song?
Yeah. We might get a song out of him.
Yeah.
Sorry. But maybe that's another thing. What we hadn't really done. It's like on the squad side, it wouldn't have done if we had one position for an under 23s player to find out what the match day is, and it's putting a lot of pressure on young lads to come directly into the squad. That's the problem. I think that's the problem. It's like the fear of putting somebody in and not doing it. Like Cooper, who'd be like protecting the young lads as well. But I think with it, the coaching has not been as good as previously, and I don't know if that is because of what's happened with Guy Bazil leaving from that time. If you want to really look back at it, with the strength of the coaching has not been. There's been a lot of rumours about that not being very good, and being really poor. We only just recently had a set piece coach last week. I mean, hello, we're a Premier League team. You should have a goalkeeping coach, defensive coach, attack, them specialists in them there to either get the players better, and obviously, set pieces. Some of the set pieces have been absolutely woeful.
That's a polite way of putting it.
Well, it is. It is in the nicest possible way. It is, and I think with it, you look at it, it's saying, it's not all Cooper's fault, but we ain't. It's like any kind of football club, any business. You need that heart of that structure to be there to get players playing, because and I think that hasn't helped.
No. I've got Bill watching from Bathurst, Australia. Say hello, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
We're all international tonight, guys. So hit that subscribe button and everything. I mean, so many people obviously got that he has gone and that. Obviously, if we are looking at getting Nino in, I mean, I know Mohammed has put it on. Would you guys be happy with Nino? And in terms of players and that, I know we touched upon about it. I mean, can you see us using George Mendes as an agent to get players in?
George Mendes. That worked brilliantly last time, didn't it? The
It
last
did.
time we got 3 players from Portugal last time, it was an absolute masterstroke, wasn't it? I'm sure people are still absolutely loving João Carvalho. Like, I'm sure there's still some out there with the massive fan clubs, but I mean, look, if we can get a select few that are of the level that Wolves brought in when they first came up, then yeah, fine, brilliant. I'm all for it. But if we're just going to flood our team with Portuguese wonder kids that do absolutely nothing, then, I mean, we're no better off. We've got to make sure that we're signing players in positions that are actually going to make a difference. And I mean, our biggest problem and biggest mistake is the 2 wide players we actually have in an attacking sense are both that injury prone, you could probably make them out of plasticine. That's why I think we'll probably go back to a back 3 and wing backs. Because I don't think we've actually got the squad. And I don't think you can turn it around in one transfer window to go from a back 3 and wing backs to a kind of fullbacks and wingers. That's a summer job. That's a thing where you take it apart in the summer and put it together and really work on it. I think mid-season is incredibly difficult to change that much of your identity to fit something else. Now, names wise, I generally don't know. Like, I can't say I've been doing that much in the scouting department of, yeah, he'd do well here, he'd do well here. We don't know, because we had a lot of players come in and we thought, yeah, they look brilliant, and they've not been. And then we signed players and thought, they're a bit risky, and Cooper made them look good. I mean, end of the day, Serge Aurier, he looked absolutely brilliant last season. This season, he's just not been on the pace. He's been ducking under footballs. Like, seriously? That's not the Serge Aurier that was throwing himself in front of balls, blocking balls, heading them away of last season. I think the problem that we're having is there are too many players that either weren't playing, were playing slightly, or just making genuine errors that were costing us games. But some of them aren't learning. Like, you've got to track players back when they're running, and you've got to follow players. You've got to stay switched on for 47, 48, 49 minutes of the first half. And if the game plan is to double up on a winger on both sides, you do that until the whistle goes. You don't do it until the board goes up and then switch off, so you then go and concede to Richarlison, of all people. You've got to follow the game plan all the way through. And I just don't. And the other thing is, we've had 4 captains this season already, if not 5 or 6. Doesn't that say something that there's not a glaringly obvious player you can go, yeah, you're going to start every week? But and some people say it's good to have many captains. Yeah, if the spine of that team was consistently playing, I totally agree. But we'd have a captain, say Worrell, then he gets taken out. Sorry, I've used the buzzword of the day, by the way. Then it went down to Aurier, then it went to Yates, then it got through over to Felipe for a game, then it got through to Gibbs White for a game. And the majority of those players, when they then had to drop the armband to somebody else, were not even in the 11. It's been too choppy and changey, even to the point of who's wearing the armband. And that also comes down to the communication on the field. If you go behind in a game, who is there telling them to focus, to come on, we can still get something out of this? There's no communication there. They all just like heads down, walking around.
Do you think,
Do,
Luke? Do you think that's because Cooper was being so under pressure that he doesn't know who to pick or side, or trying to get a winning team? And reference about the wing backs, we had no option because the players that we've got, we haven't really got.
Yeah.
You know, if you're playing a left back or right back, we haven't got that kind of player who can do it in the team. You know, and
I agree.
When you're playing with just like a back four and you've got the left back and right back, it's a lot of hard work because how we play in the mid, there's a lot of space there, so it's really difficult. You know, so we have to. You know, going back to back three, what we said, you know, when we've seen each other at City Ground, we said, well, I can see it going to back three here because it's the only way. Unless, I mean, one thing I said, you know, maybe with the engine and the pace, maybe put Danilo as one of the wing backs. I know it's a bit, you know, off keto or kind of thing, but he's got the engine. You know what I mean? And like we're tracking back, you know, there's been a lot of this season where it's been nearlies. You know what I mean? But I think as well, a couple of things what hadn't helped. Teams has worked us out a little bit at City Ground, how to stop us. The atmosphere at the City Ground has not really been. I think that's to do with expectation that we're expected to win teams what we struggled with. You know, with the atmosphere. The atmosphere was far better at Spurs. You know, compared to previous games. And I think that hasn't helped. But I do think the swapping and changing of the team all the time, you know, because even now, you know, I suppose most Forest fans now wouldn't know what, you know, if everyone was fit as such, there might be one or two players, or maybe three, I'd say maximum four players, what everyone probably would have in the team. The rest of them would be, you know, and I think that's one of the big problems.
Yeah. No, what should I say something?
I was just going to say that. Do you think the drop in atmosphere is due to the lack of Forza displays as well before games? Like there used to be one nearly every single game towards the back end of last season, and then they tried to do one this season, and we messed it up.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
you know, I feel that this expectation thing and this trying to change the way we play, because we feel like we should be entitled to play tippy-tappy football that creates the perfect goal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a total entitlement that needs dropping. We're not a side that's going to be built to play amazingly free-flowing football that the squad is capable of doing. It's evident this squad is not capable of doing that. So really, the adaptable mentality is go back to what was getting us points last season. Was that style of play really that bad? Was anybody really that like angry and disappointed with the fact that we were winning games playing that way?
No, but I think the problem is it's like everything like on there where you know you could see personally like Luton getting out of it because they're playing to their strength of their formation, and I think sometimes it's like when you have a look at it, we're trying to be played the Pep way, and it doesn't work. You haven't got them kind of players, you know, kind of thing. And I think we've got to play to our strengths, and when we do, we cause people problems, you know, and I think you're right, Luke. I think looking at the style of play, what we've changed, the players and everything, and it's just we've just not quite got it. Well, we haven't got it right, you know. And last season we had, you know, yeah.
That
Yeah.
that comment right there is exactly how I'm feeling. Who
Yeah.
signs these players? O'Brien, Scarpa, Shelby. Like
Well,
you know,
no
without
disrespect
going in.
to Lewis O'Brien. No disrespect to Lewis O'Brien. My mate's Huddersfield fan, and no disrespect. When he was in the Championship, he was the best midfielder in the Championship by far. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, I'm not turning my nose at Nuno. I will support whoever's manager of our club. You know, without Scott, that's one thing. You know, I'm a Nottingham Forest fan before anything else. You know, and I've seen good days, bad days. You know, I've seen the glory days with Brian Clough, and I've seen the bad days when we've been in League One. You know, I've seen the bad days when, you know, Chris Hughton days, which were probably the worst time I've ever seen us play football. You know what I mean? So I will support who's in charge, and I will get behind him. But I think with it, I think there's more unrest, as in the background, what fans won't know about, what you know is not causes issues, and again, I think the media haven't helped with Cooper's getting sacked, all from last season. I think they've had it on us saying that. To me, it feels like everyone wants us to get promoted. When we did, and we signed players and everything like that, we don't want Forest to do well now because we've signed too many players. But they forget about how many players left. And I think from the middle of last season, the media and everything, every single time was Cooper's going to get sacked, Cooper's going to get sacked. And I think all that from last season till present day will affect him. And then when he keeps saying no and all that kind of stuff and stuff, it is really difficult. And I think you're right, Scott. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I think with it, you could see the pressure on Cooper's face. You could see, you know, it's so difficult. But I will support my thing. I will support the manager, the club. I'm a season card holder, like the two, like Dan and Luke are, you know, and I will keep going supporting the club, you know. And like I said at the beginning, you know, hand on heart, thank you, Steve Cooper, for you know taking us. But you know, I think a change had to be made because of coming into January, you know, which I'm sad to say. But you can't make a change after January. You've got to have some kind of influx.
Just to go back to Scott's other comment before I answer this one about Dennis.
Yeah.
I think the concern is the fact that there's clearly issues behind the manager. That does getting rid of just the manager solve these problems? Because to me, it looks like there's a lot going on with different players that probably won't just get resolved by Cooper and his coaching staff leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't pick up points in the first 3 games under the new manager, what's that going to paint a picture of? That's the thing. Like, it just seems to me that there's this expectation that because we've then gone from Cooper to potentially Nuno, that there has to then be this instant impact that wins people over, because there's a lot of people that still wanted Cooper here.
Yeah.
And I think there is going to be pressure from game 1 to get an improvement in form. And I'm just wondering, well, okay, but this changing managers is disruptive as it is, but if there's also other factors playing into the mix, how quickly can they be addressed? And are they just addressable by the fact that you've changed your manager? I'm not so sure.
Well, I think with players kind of thing, and the club will say, if I was Nuno, I would go into the club and say, look, everyone's a clean slate, and he's probably been, you know, it's difficult. And like I say, it is a difficult one, Luke, and I agree. He's got to get off on a good start. Whoever takes charge. Maybe we need. I can't see Nuno being like best friend with all the players. I think he's going to be a bit more stricter kind of thing, and maybe that we need. Maybe Cooper was too much of a best mate kind of thing. You know what I mean? Maybe that got to the point with the new players and everything. You got to be, are you okay? Because we've seen it. So something major has broken down because even his relationship with Joe Royal broken down massively because even Joe was saying that he phones up on my day off, am I okay and all that kind of stuff. And you can tell certain players have been totally banished. So it might be, we might be looking at it and thinking, well, fresh start for everybody. But you've got to prove it. We've got 3 very important games over Christmas and New Year. 2 home games. Man United aren't brilliant. Newcastle got a lot of injuries, which would be hard at St James's Park. And like Saturday's game, which they tend to do better at our ground normally, don't they? With Bournemouth for very difficult games. So, but I think with it, that's definitely, I think with it, it might be. You don't know, Luke. It might be with him gone. It might be all that pressure from being expectation to be sacked every single week for that time might have gone, and they might have a bit more freedom. We don't know. You know what I mean? We don't know. It's going to be difficult. But like I say, at 2 o'clock on Saturday, it will be extremely interesting to see what that team is.
So this is a good message. I just wanted to get this one on. What Matthew has put is actually spot on to there. It's just saying, is it only me that doesn't actually care who our past, present, or future manager are? As fans, we have no say whatsoever who the club appoints. We have no say which players we buy, or no say on who we owns or had to run the club. We have one job to get behind the man in charge at the time at the helm. We have we have had world class managers in our time. Sometimes we haven't gelled. It happens. If we wanted to have world beating managers, world beating players as a fan base, we could have put ...
Well, one thing I've always got behind our managers and our team, and like everything, is like you have a look at what's happening. Even to point at first, the only manager I wasn't really 100% sure on was Chris Hooton, which that was at the time, which I didn't particularly want to at the time. But yeah, it was, yeah, and that was about it. But like on Saturday, I will support the club, the manager, the players. I never boo the players. I always support the players. And I will, because I want our team to do well. And unfortunately, being in the Premier League, it was going to take 2 or 3, 4 years to get us into that place where we're getting started established. Last time we went up, we finished third, to third, didn't we? We was in Europe and then we got relegated, didn't we? You know what I mean? So and we just, I think with it, on Saturday, I hope we make a massive amount of noise and supporting the team. But I think with it, the writing was on the wall with Fulham even before Fulham. I think it's been a breakdown in certain quarters behind the scenes, and I just think that it's I'm very sad. I think with it, it's because of what's happened in the past and bringing us up, getting us up where we are. And I think all of us would have really liked to Cooper take us to that next level. But maybe, we find his level. But I can't see him being out of work very much. I think Crystal Palace will be his next job.
Like I said, but also when we did score, we used to then short and play 11 behind the ball instead of playing positive still, and enticing pressure and panic for whatsoever it be 80 minutes or 20 minutes, then take off striker and put a centre back on negative. Matthew put us a fan base, we were put up the money ourselves to buy a club and done that. We should be grateful for every game our team play, win, lose or draw, every player that trains and play, whether it's football in the community, youth academy, etc. All the staff that participate in keeping our football club alive and kicking, not just as business, but first, we are our club is us.
I agree. I mean, I go and watch under 21s and stuff like that. I've done that. I've done that. So I support, all our clubs. But with it, it's a point where, I support whatever the owner. I'm grateful for the owner for the amount of money he's put in, as well. We can, look back at the days of Fawaz and all that kind of thing, can't we? You know what I mean? And stuff. So we've got a lot of positives, but it's maybe freshen ideas. I think probably football managers, the days of having a manager keeping as long as like Brian Clough or Fergie or stuff like that, or Arsene Wenger, way out the window. I think 2-3 years ago would be maximum kind of thing. But like I say, it's one where, like I say, on Saturday I'll be supporting the team and, hoping that whoever takes charge keeps it up.
I just thought I'd put this on because this just made me giggle. Do you like candles in the bath?
Don't have a bath and have a shower. I do have a bath in my house, but I never have a shower. I don't know about you guys. At least I do have a shower.
Yeah. So, hello, Rob. Hope you're all right. I mean, I know you've been wanting to get onto this, so fire away with what you want to say.
It seems like there's a lot of vibes from fans about Cooper. It's a difficult one to take in. The bigger picture, in my personal opinion, is: has he been sacked for the right reasons? Maybe. Should he have been given, like, for example, an experienced person to come in? Maybe. Tactically, is he good enough for the Premier League? It's a difficult one. A lot of speculation behind closed doors when it comes to like things like Worrell and McKenna being isolated out the first team. Has that had an impact on players' performance? Has it had an impact on him? Maybe. Are people seeing him as Cooper as, he's done all this for us, which is a big achievement for us, but are they not looking at the bigger picture of we need to stay in the Premier League? So getting a player from Nuno's experience, which he has got good stats, is it the right call? Time will tell. My one criticism about this whole situation is the manner that he's been sacked, the players that have been brought in not by him, and him not being given the backing of probably an experienced coach to help him through, the Premier League. I mean, getting a set piece person in this late on in the season is a bit of a worrying time. Should he have been brought in at the beginning of the season? Yeah. I mean, like I said, a lot of fans are saying, "Oh, Nuno's going to get us bottom relegated to Premier League." I could have said that about Cooper at the beginning of the season. At Championship, we're bottom at league. A manager's randomly come in, but he shocked us all. I've seen Nuno as coaching, managerial things when he were at Wolves, when he were at Tottenham. I think he's got something there. But like I says, no matter what Cooper's done for this club, no manager is bigger than the club. And our aims now is to back the manager, whoever it is, and to try and creep up out of the situation that we're in and try and stay in the Premier League.
I think I agree like on a lot of things what you said there, Rob, but one thing what I do disagree with is in all Premier League teams, they have a selection of recruitment for players. So a lot of managers in the Premier League don't really have the final say of. It's not like the Brian Clough days of I want this player, I want this player. It's a collective thing. So I think with it is like this thing, Cooper hasn't chosen any of the players, but you could say that with a lot of clubs in the Premier League because they all have this kind of ethos on the football. And I will, like everyone else, I will get behind the club all the time. But I think that's one thing which, is different, compared to, yes, Cooper may have a say in there, but overall, you've got a recruitment team who do all that. And it's not just our club who do that, it's a lot of clubs.
Yeah, totally agree with that. But I just seem to think that, like, for example, I don't think players that have high expectation, Gibbs White, I don't think he's been at his best these past couple of games. But then recruitment wise, is now this new manager's possibly coming in. Are we going to see these new people who haven't been getting game time, like Santos, the player we got from Middlesbrough, Taverniers? Is it Taverniers? Nico Taverniers? Players like this, are they going to be given chances to like prove themselves?
I think with it reference about Morgan Gibbs White, I think we've played him out of position, so he's not a winger. And we've been asking he's better as a number 10. And I think that you're never going to see the best of him playing the position which he's been having to play on there. I agree that I think it's a clean slate with everybody and there's more opportunities for maybe a different style, different players coming on there. So it'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see what goes on and especially on Saturday, what's our starting, well, what our match day team will be. Be really interesting to see.
I think Dan's gone.
Yeah, we've lost Dan. Luke, you can take over.
Oh my god.
I mean, yeah, I do think I get people's frustration and disappointment the fact that Cooper's gone and what he's done for the club, but you're out in a new manager now straight away. We aren't actually giving him a chance. His stats don't lie. I think they're quite good stats, to be fair. But like I says, I think our main focus now is to try and back the manager, whoever it may be, and just basically try and put some sort of stability back into the club now and a bit of fight. Because, like I said, past couple of games, we've shown some sort of a fight, but not the fight that we know Forest can do. There's been players that have been like off the game a little bit that haven't really. I mean, to be fair, I think the only person who I've seen that's actually shown probably a bit of fight is Mangala. I think Mangala's been fantastic these past couple of games. Yatesy, he's come in. He's been a bit silly with his challenges in recent games, but I suppose that's a bit of frustration. Ngala, I think he's been a bit off. Hello, are you back then?
I don't.
Yeah, I was having some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Just saying about Mangala, specific players that have been off key, really. Keepers, I don't know where to start with that. I feel that the goals that both keepers have conceded have been goals that could have been avoided.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, I think Toffolo's been absolutely fantastic. I don't know where that's come from, but I really feel like Toffolo has improved a hell of a lot and put quite a few people on the bench, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like going back to what you were saying, Phil, it's going to be interesting to see what 11 he brings in. I do feel that I think Origi needs a chance now. I think Hudson-Odoi needs a chance now because he seems to be a bit fired up when he comes off the bench, but just can't get into the game as much as he would like. Wood, I can't understand the logic behind why we bought him. Because as much as we try and go long ball towards him, it don't really create that much.
For me, Wood is a 20-minute, 30-minute impact, so where you get the balls over and he's in the 6-yard box. I think that's what he is with it. Because I've seen this before. I don't think he was bought as in to play week in, week out because of the massive miss of Tyro to the squad.
Yeah.
I think with Wood, he is that kind of player. But we don't know about Origi's fitness kind of thing. There's something, with it. Like I say, on Saturday when I'm at City Ground, I will support whoever's in charge if we have got a manager by then or not. I'll get behind our team because I've always have. I know like a lot of fans. But like I say, for myself, I could see the reason why Cooper had gone. And like I say, with it, I think everyone at City Ground will be behind whoever's in charge, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because we've got to get the players fight. We've got to be the 12-man, and I think that's another thing what we've got to start doing again. We've got to be a 12-man like last season with the atmosphere, make it uneasy for teams to come. With it, you see, I've got Wolves fans and I've also got Spurs fans, and my Spurs fans are just funny emotions. You say, what a loser you've got, kind of thing. And the Wolves fans sort of like saying, yeah, it was okay, but for a while, and then so it'd be interesting to see who, how he does. And as a fan, all fans really want is our team to be starting winning and start climbing up the league.
Yeah, it's his big interview basically, in it really, this Saturday, and so on and so forth, because obviously he's got big boots to fill. Absolutely. But he's got something that Cooper hasn't got, which is Premier League experience. So that will be a key thing coming this Saturday and for future, to see whether he can put his gel on things and to see what he can get out of the players. I mean, like I said, we have got probably one of the best since we've had Aye Sangari, Alanga, Nikita, Murillo. All them players can be improved, can become better players. So it'd be interesting to see what stamp Nuno gives to this 11. And, it'd be nice for him to get a win.
What would you do in January with the loan players? Get rid of all of them?
Santos, no, because I believe he can become a very, very good player. Tavernus, I've not really seen him much, but when he's come on, when I've seen him in the brief moments I've seen him, he seems to come across like a very fast player. So, me personally, I would start him on the same side as Angala and see what he can do.
What formation would you do? If you were manager, would you?
I would go because from what stats I've read about Nuno, he likes to go 3-4-3. So personally, I would see what that goes like. If we're going to hit teams, we're going to have to hit them hard, and with pace we've got in that team, we might as well use it. We haven't used it. We've been isolated. Teams have come through us. We've hit ball forward and put loads of pressure on ourselves. And we shouldn't do that. As counter-attack has not been as quick and as sharp as what it has been previous. We're at City Ground, so just let go. Let's see what these players can do.
A big shout out, the Sports Personality of the Year been announced, and a big shout out to Mary Earps for winning it.
Nottingham born and bred.
I mean, what do you think, Phil? Luke, what do you think he should really do? What do you think he should change this weekend to have some sort of an impact to the players?
I just find that counter-attacking will only work if you don't start Chris Wood. You can't counter-attack with Chris Wood. He's slow. You'd never get there. You'd be off by half time. The thing is, changing it wise for the next 3 is really going to be difficult because you're working with what you've got. I honestly don't know. I don't know what you do for the next 3 games because I was clueless before this managerial change as to what you'd really change or adapt into it. Because you've got the same list of players you had now as you did under Cooper. Like, nothing's changed much. And I mean, really, it's up to those players to actually cut out the errors. But I'm starting to sound a bit like a parrot, so there we go.
Well, I see what you mean, Luke, because obviously the errors that they're making are silly errors. They're not stuff that, it's just like the errors that they're making are just day in, day out errors. They're not something that, well, it's something that you'd expect them to improve on.
The problem if you play 3 up front, you've only, what we've got fit, if you say take Tyro out, you've got one centre, which is going to be Origi or Woodward, and then you've got the sides are going to be Gibbs White and Elanga, I would presume, because that's the only, I'm just thinking about formation-wise and what they could do, and I think it's difficult. I think it's really difficult to, I think it's going to be so difficult to see how long has he got, because he hasn't got a long time to get into the club and do that. So if we're going to do something, we need it sooner rather than later, rather than an interim manager or someone taking charge. There's a lot behind the scenes what we've got to do with his coaching staff and everything, getting him into the club and getting down. Technically we have got some, like you're saying, Rob, we've got some extremely really good players like Nick Qualiteh. Certain players can say Murillo and all them kind of stuff. We've got some really good. We've got a nucleus of a really good side, but it's just getting that right gel thing. And I think with it, and Saturday game is not going to be a walkover, because rumours are that Slanky, Arsenal are sniffing around him. He's a good player, and they've got Billing always tends to score when he comes at our ground. They're a hard physical team, and I think with it, it's like, and they're doing really well, on there. So I think it's a game that we have got to get 3 points. And with that, a draw or anything is not good enough. We have to win that. We have to win, because
we've got to. I see what you mean. We've got to start that momentum.
You've got to, because if you don't, you're going into Newcastle game where, depending on where they fit or whatever, and then you've got Man United at the City Ground, haven't you? So you've got, which, we tend to play better against better teams. We've always have done in the past of the years, ever since I've been a Forest fan. They've always frustrated me that they beat someone at the top and then lose to Luton 3-0. And you're thinking, where's that come from? As you see it yourself, But I think with it, looking at it, personally, I think looking at if we've got the strikers, maybe you're going to have to go 2 up front, because they're not good enough. They haven't got the ability. No disrespect to Enrique, but who was challenging for his signature? Burnley.
Nobody. For Burnley, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, that was it. That was it. So when you have a look at that quality coming down and what he's coming, and I know a lot of Liverpool fans, and they just rate him because he scored 1 goal. That was it. They go in Liverpool history for scoring 1 goal.
Yeah. So probably like a 3-4-1-2 formation.
You're gonna have to do something then, because we haven't got if Tyrone is not 100% fit and can get on that pitch and play 90 minutes, you've got no option because you can't play like at Spurs. Just take Spurs game. You cannot play Alanga and Morgan Gibbs White as two strikers like there was.
No,
It doesn't
no,
work. It does not work
no.
at all. And the
It
problem
nullifies their attacking ability.
it does. And I've said to Luke and I've said to Dan, right, I played at a high level. I'm 6'3". I could not head the ball to save my life. 2 feet. And I think with it, when you have a look at some of the goals what we've scored when he's intercepting the play, it's not been the header, it's been to his feet. And the pass through. And with Ward, to me, is a striker in the 6-yard box, get it over and head it in. But when he's like on halfway line, he's someone 3 foot tall can out jump him.
Yeah.
Because the problem when you're so tall and you try and jump off from a stand up, you can't get the momentum up. When the ball's coming on and you're seeing the ball coming across, you can jump up and then get the header. But when you're standing and defenders at the back of it, you can't get up, and they're playing it all to the wrong. He's playing to his wrong style of play. When we scored, who did he lead the football through when last year? When it came, a really fantastic pass on with that through back into the bang goal. Can't remember who it was. Do you know what I mean?
Arsenal, Tyrone Awoniyi.
Yeah, that you know what I mean. Them players, you've got to play to the strengths, and the problem is when you're 6'3" tall, and defenders get easy option, hoof it off to him. We lose it all the time. We're never quick enough on the second ball with him, and I think with it, that's one problem. You're playing him to the wrong style of play. You know, either Chris Wood has got to be in the 6-yard box, running in, banging the ball in the goal, which he has done. But if you're playing as one central striker and you're expecting him there, it's never going to work. He's just going to come back of it. And all teams will do, if I was an opposition manager, I'd say push up higher, right? Because you're going to get more players in there because we'll be pushed back again. And I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this on, because I know we spoke about it earlier, Rob. I just want to get your guys' perspective on Morgan Gibbs White, because I know there was a tweet going round about Gibbs White and Nuno when he was at Wolves. I just want to get your audience views on, do you think Gibbs White would go?
Well, reports are one of the reasons why Morgan Gibbs White left Wolves was because he had a bust up with Nuno. So that talk... It depends. It depends. Can Morgan Gibbs White and Nuno bury the hatchet? If not, I can see probably Gibbs White following Cooper wherever he may go, which I think it's going to be Palace. I think Chris Palace are going to try and go for him. Depending on how Nuno plays him and whether they can make up and whether we're going to get results again. Will determine whether Gibbs White, but like I said, he's a big follower and a big admirer of Cooper. So I think that's one that's probably going to mull over come January transfer, or whether he's going to commit to Forest or commit more to Cooper.
Luke?
I'm not quite sure whether I don't think it's solely due to the bust up with Nuno as to why Gibbs White left, because I've spoken to a couple of Wolves fans that were like, yeah, well, he did this during the pandemic and he did that. And I was like, right, so basically you disliked him and gave him abuse for basically nothing, to be honest. But I think he left because he wasn't appreciated. That's another thing. And I think footballers are funny, aren't they? Because they can have a bust up at one club, the manager comes in and it just works at another team. Like, I can't see it being as clear cut as Cooper goes to Palace and then Gibbs White ends up there too. because I mean, again, Palace have to cough up some pretty big money to actually price him out of Forest in the first place. But I think maybe in this system, Nuno is able to get more out of Gibbs White than he could with the set of players he had at Wolves. You never know; it might actually work better for him this time.
Yeah, totally agree, Luke. I think it all comes down to now what Marinakis is going to give Nuno, what tools he's going to say, look, you can have this, this, and this. What he's going to give him come January. Is he going to say, look, you can bring such and such in to help him work with to add to what he wants to work with the rest of the players? Like I said, when managers get sacked and they've underperformed, you get that sense of feeling when a new manager comes in, they perform better. So it'd be interesting to see, with what little time Nuno's has got between now and Bournemouth game, how the players react against Bournemouth. Because I feel that if they perform to their best of their abilities in the short time Nuno's is there, that's going to take a bit of a big thought of, oh, why are you performing now and you might perform for Cooper?
Well, a couple of things about January transfer window. It's never easy doing business in January because clubs are doing well, don't really want to do. The only grace in say is that we've got a European competition on there. If some players might be moving, kind of thing. It also depends on what they think. What chance have we got getting relegated or staying up? That goes in there, and also for our club point of view on finances. Can we keep this player on a 5-year contract if we get relegated? I think that is something what you've got to take in consideration. Maybe at the beginning of the season, at the for Bournemouth game, every player's got a new chance. But I think in January we're going to have to be very, very careful. I think because who we sign, who we get rid of, who leaves. Because I think in past history tells you that January can be very, very, very tricky, and very, most clubs don't really do a lot of good business in January.
I mean, Luke, Phil, given the way players have performed up to Cooper's dismissal, and obviously January transfer coming up, who would you like to see gone, and who do you think would, or what position do you think we need to improve in?
Personally, we need a quality goalkeeper, because I think we were panicked in buying the two what we've got, because like I was saying previously about Henderson, I think we got to a point where we couldn't go in the season with Wayne Hennessy in there. In pre-season we had Shelby, like I said before. We definitely need another striker in the same kind of ethos mould as in Tyro, because that formation, that kind of player we need. It's difficult because the new lads who we signed this season sometimes takes them a little while to get settled in and bedded in. But I think if I was looking at the side, I think you need definitely a goalkeeper, definitely a new striker, and probably a winger. I think in the wings.
Yeah, I completely go to Luke.
I think trimming it wise, we need to get rid of one of the goalkeepers that's not being involved. Hennessy or Horvath need to go because they're just eating up wages for no reason. I think if we're not going to use Warren or McKenna, then get rid. Again, frees up wages, frees up spaces. Probably send Montiel back. He's not really done much. I can't really see that working. I think that most of the loans will go back anyway. I think that was rumoured before, so I think they'll end up disappearing anyway.
Yeah, I do.
And I think as for what I'd like to see, I'd like to see us get definitely a pacey striker, definitely a goalkeeper. Dependent on whether we're going to play if we're playing a 3-4-3, then we probably need attacking midfielders either side than actual wingers. So then maybe we need another decent attacking midfielder to go alongside Gibbs White that's also got a record of scoring goals. Yeah. Because the one thing Gibbs White is not renowned for is scoring a lot of goals.
Mm-hmm. And you do wonder where the goals are going to come from at the team what we've got now. And I totally agree with yourself, because it rumoured that Celtic will be coming in for McKenna. Well, he's out of contract at the end of the season, so we've got to get him. You know, if we can get any money for him.
Yeah. So speaking of that, Phil, Luke, what obviously with the rumours going around that Cooper fell out with Worrell and McKenna. What are your thoughts on both of them as defenders? And do you think they should be given another chance under the new manager, or do you think we should be thinking about, letting them go?
Well, I think with this, it's important to note that the fallout between Worrell and Cooper was to do with the Luton game, where Adebayo basically just brushed him totally off like he wasn't even there. Yeah. McKenna was actually down to a contract agent dispute, which was just before the Man City game. So McKenna-wise, I can't see how he comes back, because at the end of the day, I think he probably wants to go anyway. He's not up to Premier League level.
Yeah,
like he's too slow.
Mm-hmm.
As for Worrell, again, too slow. I probably wouldn't try him again, because to me, you've got 4 centre-backs already there. Maybe you could add another one if you really need to in January, if there's an easy one to get. But I can't see them coming back. No, I not personally. I think the race is run with those two, because I think it's more of a owner opinion and owner issue than actual management totally on this one.
I think myself, very similar to what Lou was saying. I think with the contract with McKenna, I think very good as a championship player, did okay-ish last season, but I think it's time for him to move on. The Luton game, what we was there, you could see, 2-0 up and you messed it up and kind of thing. It was definitely, I think with Joe, he's a squad player as anything, but I think we've got better options in the back. Who would you rather have him instead of qualiteh? Would you rather have Joe Worrell rather than Murillo?
I feel qualiteh. Sorry, I feel qualiteh. See, Bolly's got Premier experience, but he's made mistakes as well.
Mm-hmm.
qualiteh is his second season in Premier League. He's learning. But to be fair, Murillo has performed very, very well. To come into a squad, into a very important, difficult league, he has done very well compared to what Worrell has done. I do feel that I think Worrell and McKenna are championship players. That's it. I think they are. I think the mistakes that they've made are costly mistakes that have cost us games and points. But then, like I says, I always believe a player is only good as a coach. So could Nuno flare some sort of, ability into these two?
The problem is you can sort of like tell with a level of a player by who's looking at who's wanting to sign them. So when you go for McKenna, certainly really Celtic, what level of, kind of thing, really what's been rumoured at. With Joe Worrell, it's been Middlesbrough and Leicester. Yes, I know Leicester's doing, unfortunately doing well in there, but there's no. And I think with Joe, he's that kind of thing. What 1 minute it can be a world beater, but the next minute it can be really poor, which we've seen that. Even when it was on loan at Rangers, it was like that. So I think with it, unfortunately for them players, we have moved on. And it's not the back central defenders which I've really got an issue with their club. I think it's behind them, the goalkeeper, and there's positions, and if we can free their wages up, then that might give us an opportunity to get. And personally, with the loan players, I can't see any of them staying. Personally, I think they'd all go back. I
Yeah.
think Chelsea are wanting their lad back because of time, game time, and I think if he stays, the statement will be Chelsea will demand that he plays certain amount of games. As I imagine, that's what I imagine Chelsea would say to the club. And I think it's different. It's difficult. It's really, and you can understand why Cooper was angry with Joe Orr about the Luton game, because we was as fans.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
as fans. Like, why? Why? I mean, he was pushed aside like he weren't there. But was that?
I think it's all about consistency, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And unfortunately, the Premier League, as we know, is like normally maybe in the Championship he might have done that mistake and got away with it. But unfortunately, in the Premier League, you make like it cost us. Like have a look at the cost of the Spurs game on the goals. It cost us massively. But with it, I think, like I say, you get to a point where it's like everything in the Premier League as well, where you go up, people don't know your style, you're causing problems, and we did that even when we was in Championship in the cup games. We caused, we caused a lot of Premier League teams a lot of hassle, because of our attacking style play when we had Zinc and all them lot kind of thing. And yes, I know that the level's different, but you could still play that kind of style of football. Maybe not against the top six, but you should be going out in there and giving it a go against people like Luton and Burnley and Sheffield United, where when you have a look at our games, what we've played, we really, even the victories what we've had, it's been, that could have gone either way either. We've not really dominated any game, even with the new lads coming up.
Yeah.
We haven't.
But it's kind of just shown though, hasn't it? Though how it's weirdly dropped from all this fighting and like togetherness to then we're losing games. We're not putting much of a fight. We're giving needless balls away. It's just it's heartbreaking for the fans to know that, like, for example, we can go out and smash Aston Villa 2-0 and put a fantastic display on, and then lose to Everton, lose to Fulham, and just be totally disheartened about it all. I mean, at that point of losing 5-0 to Everton, it was the players' fault. They basically signed Cooper's P45. But then also it's Cooper's tactics that are probably not strong enough to basically compete in the Premier League. But then, like, I go back to know, should he? I feel he should have been given some sort of guidance from somebody, like a coach or something like that, to help him in the league.
The problem is it's who, because when you have that kind of position, it's difficult for him because people think the problem with everything is like, say for instance, he had an ex-manager on his side. It's like, oh well, Cooper's just the yes man. He's picking the team, so you can't. It's difficult what to say that. If you're a head coach, you've got to be a head coach. But I think looking at games, Everton, Dyche is always at City ground, so he knows how to get a result at our ground. I mean, that game at Everton, we could have played till now and we still wouldn't have scored. We might have even have that shot by then, maybe. But I think Fulham, it was total disaster. And I think from there, the pressure's been on. But also what I've said before, Rob, even from last season, when we lost to Leicester. We had a bit more fight the following game, but the media and everything surrounding Cooper and our club is like, he's going to get sacked next week. He's going to get sacked next week. He's going to get sacked next week. And that merry-go-round all the time, bound to affect his morale. Bound to affect him. He looked really tired. You could tell the weight on his head, on his shoulders. And hopefully that weight around the club, that we might have a bit more direction, might help the players now to give that performance. But what would be concerning if we get the performance now and then we get battered 6-0 at Newcastle and Man U. So I think he's got to, because you always hopefully get that bounce, when a new manager comes in. But it's difficult for what players we've got fit and what we've got in the squad, and obviously they're not either, because some photos of Origi, he looks really overweight. The club squad photo, he looked like he had football in him. Did you know what I mean? So is the fitness right? I mean, last season everyone kept getting injured with hamstrings, so we didn't have a doctor. We sorted that out, but now they just don't seem to have that energy and that urgency. I think that's one thing what we've missed this season, that urgency. When we've got the ball, there's no quick interaction of, well, is that because we're missing Brennan Johnson, but we've got Alanga on one side. You know what I mean? So I think our style of football has not helped us because we've been very too slow. It reminds me of the day, like I did say to Luke and Dan, I said, reminds me of the day of like pursuing that Stoke. We get to halfway line, stop what you're doing, you have to go backwards. And let's try and hoof it up. So I think the style of football has changed, not in a way that suits our style and our players. Again, with it, what might have helped last season was World Cup, because it gave them that extra weeks to get them players who weren't at the World Cup to get used to our system and work on that system. And that's one thing, we hadn't had that break, so that could be another telling point. Because this time last year we World Cup, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that could be a major thingy. But then again, in January we've got a lot of the African players won't be with the club. But some of the performances on some of them, like Serge from last season, brilliant. This season, ducking down, letting goals in. Like last season, he'd be there like this. If it hits him in the face and he's knocked out for a week, he'd be there. Like, so if you have a look at the goals conceded, a lot of them, to me, it's like, why have you done that? It's like, have they done it on purpose? I'm not saying they've done it on purpose, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, why aren't you putting your body to the shirt? Is it because you've got the contract and you're happy? Yeah, I'm on 90k a week now, so I don't care.
This is what I was saying. This is what I was saying to Dan earlier. There's probably a lot of players that have come into us that have got relegation clauses in the contract. So does that mean that at some points they're not gonna play to the best of their ability, and they're gonna be like, well, we're not bothered because if we get relegated, then we can move on to new clubs. Which if that is the case, then it's quite sad. I mean, like, you're going back to it. The games this season, Arsenal game, Man United game, Aston Villa game, these games that we thought we'd be dead and buried, we've performed. But then it's the question, why can we perform 1 minute and then underperform to a really poor level and the next? What is the, what's the problem? Why? It's quite confusing, to be fair. And like I said, that position has basically ended Cooper's reign at Forest. But then the change of system, the change of what Nuno's going to bring in, is that going to, like you said, fire players up to think, you know what, hold on a minute here. We've got somebody in now that's got Premier League experience, that wants to play a system that we might think, we might get out and play the way we want to play. I mean, like I said, when we play football and we don't move the ball forward, we're a danger to teams. Really a big danger. But
You know what you were saying,
But-
Rob, about players.
at late, we've just been like, oh, we can't be bothered now.
Yeah, you know, for them players that have got relegation contracts and not playing, I'd get rid in January. Say, well, if you either play for us or you go in January if we can get rid. Because you either got to play for the badge.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They've got to show.
Yes, they are.
Exactly, and that's what they've got to do. They've signed Cooper's P45 now. They've won. Well, in some sense, they've wanted him out because they've underperformed. So it's now time to show us as fans and the new manager what they actually can do. Because and fans, yeah, I get what fans mean. You know, Cooper's done a lot for us, but he's gone now. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't change it. It's unfortunate what's happened. We can't mull around the bush and say, oh, Cooper's gone. Nuno's is going to get us relegated, blah, 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 blah. We can't think like that. A manager cannot define a team. He's got sacked. Yeah, we can't do that. We can't go to Maracas and say, oh, get Cooper back in, or we'll never turn up to any game. We've got to believe in the system. Believe he's brought an experienced manager in to the who's got Premier League experience. Let's give him a chance, like we gave Cooper a chance, because he was on. He had time at Swansea. We wasn't expecting the things that Cooper did, but we thought, you know what, we'll give him a chance. You know, there's a lot of problems at Forest, which there was when Cooper took over, but he turned it around. There's problems at Forest again, so let's see if Nuno's can turn it around. Don't judge him out yet. Let's see what he can do. See if he can get these players working like we all know they can play like.
I mean, I've not seen much on social media about, get rid of him straight away like Nuno. Because I think with it, a lot of it's been the gratitude and thank you for what Cooper's done. You know what I mean? And I think with it, he's done a lot for our club, but he's saying that. So myself, I'm very grateful for what he's done, and I will be behind whoever we pick up because, I want our team in the Premier League, and like I say, with it, it's just, with it, like I say, I'll be on there on Saturday, supporting our team, shouting, singing like normal, and a little bit for then supporting the players, the manager, the squad, and the team hopefully get 3 points.
I'm loving the chat, guys, but I know we've been going for an hour and a half now enough, so
yeah.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I go up in the morning. So,
Same as.
Yeah.
So, thank you both for coming on.
Anytime, Dan.
Pleasure.
I know he's gone as well. So, thank you for watching, guys, and goodbye.